Welcome back to Movie On. Today I'm going to explain the movie called Jack the Giant Slayer from 2013. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. And I hope you enjoy the video. At the beginning of the movie, we saw a kid named Jack. His dad was a farmer. Jack loved to hear stories about kings and kingdoms. He was so excited about a story. This story was from ancient times. A kid used to rule a whole country by himself. During this time, some pastors made some beans, and they were not any ordinary beans. They were magical beans. They made these beans to get to heaven and talk to God. After making the beans, they planted them on the ground. And a huge tree came out of the ground in front of their eyes. The tree was so big that it looked like it was about to reach heaven. And the pastors also thought it would take them to heaven. When they went to the top of the tree, they found out that there was another world between heaven and earth. And it was such a dangerous place. Giants lived there, and they're far bigger and stronger than humans. When the pastors went there, the giants saw them, and they got the path to come down to earth through the tree. They came to earth through the tree, and they destroyed everything. They even killed humans and ate them. After seeing this, the king's soldier killed one of the giants, and a pastor took out his heart. After that, he performed some kind of magic on his heart. He made a magical crown from his heart. And the shocking thing is, when the king wore the crown on his head, all the giants kneeled before him and made him their king. The king ordered them to go back to their world. After the giants returned to their world, the king cut down the tree and kept the seeds to himself. When the king died, they put the beans and the magical crown in his coffin and buried it. The princess of that kingdom also loved this story, because the princess was from the king's family. Her mom used to tell this story all the time. 10 years later, we saw that Jack had grown up, and he was going towards the town to sell his horse. When he went to the town, he saw that there was drama going on about the story of the king. Since Jack loved the story, he went inside to watch the drama, and we saw that the princess was also there. She came here by disguising herself, and no one realized that she was the princess. Meanwhile, some guys started to tease the princess. Jack went ahead to save her, but a guy punched him in the face. Jack threatened them, and they kneeled before him. Jack thought that they were scared of him, and that's why they kneeled. But he looked back and saw that there were so many soldiers behind him, and they came here to save the princess. And this was the reason for them kneeling. So the princess went back to the palace with them. After that, we saw a guy named Roderick. The king had arranged his daughter's marriage with Roderick, but the princess didn't like him at all, and she didn't want to marry him. Suddenly, Roderick went to his study room and saw that his whole study room was destroyed. He checked all around, and he found the crown of the king from a tree pot, but some pages were missing from his book. So Roderick ordered his soldiers to shut the city down and arrest the pastor at any cost. When Jack was roaming around to sell his horse, a pastor approached him and told him he wanted to buy his horse. Jack asked him if he had any money, but the pastor didn't have any money. That's why the pastor gave him some seeds and told him about the father. The pastor told him to give those seeds to the father, and then he will give you the money for your horse. Jack asked him, why would he give me money for some seeds? The pastor said, these are not any ordinary seeds. These are magical seeds. These are so powerful that they can change the whole world, and they're very expensive. So don't lose these seeds at any cost. Remember one thing, never put these seeds in water. After saying this, the pastor left with Jack's horse. But after going for a while, he got arrested. When Jack went back home, his uncle was mad at him. He said, what did you do? You brought beans in exchange for the horse? The pastor fooled you. He became so mad that he threw those beans. Jack began to pick up the seeds, but one seed fell through the wooden hole. He didn't notice it. It was raining outside, and the princess was going by Jack's house. Since she didn't want to marry Roderick, she was running away from the palace. To save herself from the heavy rain, the princess went to Jack's house. Jack recognized her, and they started to talk to each other. Some rainwater dropped on the seed, and we know that the pastor told Jack not to put the seed in water at any cost. As soon as the water droplet touched the seed, the tree began to grow right there. Since the tree was under the house, the tree took the house by itself, and we noticed that the princess was still in the house. Jack tried to save her, and all of them went too high with the tree. The next morning, the king came there and saw a huge tree touching the sky. They had no idea about the ending of this tree. Jack told them everything. The king ordered his soldiers to go up and save his daughter. Roderick said, "I will go with them to save my future wife, because I love her." Jack also wanted to go with them, and they took him with them. When Jack was climbing towards the sky with Roderick and his soldiers, then Roderick cut the rope intentionally, and some soldiers fell and died. Finally, Roderick arrived at the place between earth and heaven. After going there, Roderick said to Jack, "I know you have those magical beans. Give me those seeds." Jack didn't want to give him the seeds, but Roderick threatened him with his knife, so Jack gave him the seeds. But Jack secretly kept a seed to himself. After that, they divided into 3 teams and began to look for the princess. This place was so dangerous. A giant came in front of Jack and his team, and he took 2 of Jack's team members with him. But we saw that Jack went after the giant because he wanted to find the princess at any cost. He knew that he would find the princess if he followed the giant. After that, we saw Roderick and his team members. Roderick pushed one of his team members from the cliff because he didn't like him. But then suddenly a giant came in front of them and killed Roderick's friend in front of his eyes. The giant was about to kill Roderick as well, but Roderick pulled out the magical crown. It was the crown that was made from the giant's heart. The king made this crown, and it had magical powers. It was obvious that whoever will wear the crown, the giants will listen to him. That's why Roderick wore the crown on his head and went to the place where there were so many giants in one place. The princess was also there along with a soldier. We noticed that all the giants kneeled before him. Roderick asked the leader of the giants to kneel before him as well, and he did it. He kneeled before him. Roderick stepped on his head and went to the throne. Roderick told them that I am your king from now on, and now we will go to Earth and make everyone our slaves. A giant took the soldier and the princess to the kitchen. He was about to cook the soldier, but then Jack came there. Before the giant could kill the soldier, Jack stabbed the giant with a big knife, and the giant died. And just like that, Jack saved the soldier's life. After that, Jack, the princess, and the soldier went outside, and they went to a place where they could easily get to Earth through the tree. But a giant was guarding that place. That's why Jack and the soldier brought a swarm of bees and put them inside the armor of the giant. Therefore the giant stood up and began to shake and scream like crazy. The giant lost his balance and fell down to Earth. The king saw the giant and realized that the giants were preparing to come down to Earth. That's why he ordered his soldiers to cut the tree, because if those giants come to Earth, then they will destroy everything. No one will be able to stop them. So the soldier told Jack and the princess to go down. I will stay here, because I want to stop Roderick at any cost. Because if he gets down, then he will destroy everything. I know very well about what he's up to, and that's why the fighter stayed there. So Jack and the princess began to go down using the tree. The king didn't want to cut the tree, because his daughter was still up there. But still, he had to do it for the betterment of the kingdom. On the other side, Roderick was preparing to go to Earth with his giant soldiers. The soldier was hiding there, and he was watching everything. Suddenly, the soldier attacked Roderick and killed him. The crown fell down from his head. On the other side, we saw that the soldiers had cut the tree. So the tree began to fall down, and the soldier was on the tree as well. Jack and the princess were also falling down with the tree. But luckily, all of them were safe, and we saw that the leader of the giants got the crown and he put it in his fingers. Therefore, the giants made him their king. But now they were not able to get to Earth because the tree was cut off. Suddenly, the giants found a tiny pouch, and those magical beans were inside this pouch. The king of the giants dropped those seeds into the water, and some huge trees came out of the ground. The giants bent the trees towards the earth, and they began their journey towards Earth. The king got his daughter back, and he became so happy. He thanked Jack for saving his daughter's life, but he didn't know that Jack and the princess were in love with each other. Jack said goodbye to the princess and left. Since he was an ordinary poor boy, he couldn't marry the princess. When Jack was going towards his house, he saw that those giants came down to Earth. He immediately realizes that this happened because of the seeds that Roderick took away from him. Jack immediately went towards the palace to inform the king about it. He went to the king and said that the giants had come down to Earth. Meanwhile, the giants were all over the place, and they created chaos. To save their lives, the king and his soldiers went towards the palace with their horses, because it was the only safe place for them. because they were the family members of the king who started this story at the beginning, and that's why the giants would never let them live. Because that king sent them back to their giant world with the help of the crown. Before the giants could harm them, all of them went inside the palace, but Jack was left behind. One soldier ordered to pull up the bridge, but before the bridge got closed, Jack jumped onto the bridge at the right time. But the leader of the giants grabbed the bridge with his hand. But soldiers were ordered to fire at the giant. All of them fired at the same time, and the giant fell down to the water. There was fire all over the place, so the giant went underwater to look for another way. The bridge was about to get closed, but the giants were trying to open it with ropes. The giants started to throw trees at the palace. A giant threw a big tree towards the wall, and the wall broke into pieces. After seeing this, the king realized that it's impossible to stop them. The king told the princess to get to her room, and then go through the secret door. The door will take you to a place, and you will find a fire torch there. You need to light that torch so that everyone will know that we are in danger. That's why Jack and the princess went ahead towards their destination. When they moved towards the fire torch, they noticed that the ground was cracking, because the leader of the giants, who fell down on the water, had come here inside the palace. After coming out of the ground, the giant attacked them, and he got them. The giant was about to eat Jack, but Jack pulled out the last magical seed and put it inside the giant's mouth. Something very strange happened after the giant swallowed the seed. We saw that the tree began to grow inside his body, and as a result, his body got destroyed into little pieces. The hand of the giant fell down beside Jack, and it had the magical crown in it. On the other side, all of the giants entered the palace, and the king and the soldiers were standing in front of them. But suddenly, all the giants kneeled down. The king and the soldiers had no idea about what was going on. When they looked back, they saw that Jack was standing there with the crown in his hand. And then he put the crown on his head. He ordered all the giants to go back to their own world. When the giants went back to their world, the king cut down all the trees. After that, we saw Jack and the princess married, and they had 2 kids as well. Jack was telling them the story of those giants, just like he used to hear from his dad. The kids asked him about the crown, and Jack said that the crown is still safe and sound. Now they put it inside a museum. People from remote areas come to see the crown, and no one knows anything about the reality of this crown. To watch more explanations of these kinds of movies, click on the videos on your screen. And don't forget to let me know how you feel about today's video in the comments down below. And at last, I will say, stay safe, stay well, thanks.